Launch that. Watch that. Still waiting. And all right, there we go. All right, so we're primarily going to focus on guys that are in play. We really don't want to waste a whole lot of time talking about people like Corey Roper, Cody Roball, going through the grid. I see no real reason to really waste our time talking about people who are not in play whatsoever.
I apologize if this tab in the spreadsheet that we're using is kind of small, but it has to be. We'll just use this as a guide. We'll bounce back to the main page where everything is big and where all the stats are, but this is kind of our reference guide, as Mr. Cruz was saying. Go back.
Saying me. Oh, okay, yeah, back to me. Look, we kind of know how this race is going to play out. It's looking a lot like a place differential play with maybe a Sheldon Creed or maybe a Raphael Lessard as a lap leader or something along those lines, but like one lap leader and then just tons of place differential from the back of the field. So I really want to focus on...
It's almost like we're doing Daytona all over again in a way.
It's almost more scary, yeah.
Because we're just chasing place differential again. We're focusing on the back of the field again. And if we're saying that's the case, if you're listening and saying, oh, yeah, it does sound a lot like Daytona. Well, what's the thing that we always do at Daytona? Anybody? Crickets? When you're building a lineup at Daytona?
Oh, no, I don't know.
What do you do?
Teach me. Well, what do you do?
We leave money on the table. If we are saying that this is very similar to Daytona, we're chasing place differential, we're taking guys in the back, their qualifying position does not necessarily match up with their ability, their qualifying position doesn't match up with their salary. In those circumstances, we leave money on the table. So dare I ask the question, how much money are you going to leave on the table? How much money are you comfortable leaving on the table? If it's a lot like Daytona, you leave money on the table. So my first question to you is, how much are you leaving on the table? Yeah, how much? Because I know you are. What's one of the highest? What's one of the highest totals you have?
Let's see. I got a lot using full salary right now.
No, I think that's doing it wrong.
Let's see. That is 1,700. So I'm going to make an argument here in a sense of you can leave money on the table, which I'm going to do with some lineups, and then you can really use your salary to get people like Austin Hill, for example. Brett Moffitt is probably going to be, he's the most talked about driver. He's $10,000. I feel like Austin Hill is going to get overlooked. And so, for example, why not? I might not.
It sounds like you're paying just to pay, though, because you're trapped in this. Well, you got to spend your money. And I understand that you've got to spend your money when the qualifying grid is set under normal circumstances, which is 95% of the races that we participate in. But this is the rare occasion where the qualifying grid is really wonky. The pricing's not really there. So why would you follow that? Obviously, it's a rule. You want to spend all of your salary, but you're assuming under that circumstance that DraftKings got the pricing right. I don't believe they got the pricing right for some of these guys.
And look, trust me, I'm the first guy to leave a lot of money on the table. It's that I'm just happening to get all the drivers that I want in the $48,000 to $50,000 range on DraftKings because I'm primarily focusing on the 7K drivers or guys that are in the 9K range starting in the back. And just because of that, yeah, sure, I might make a pivot to somebody like Murphy in the 8 car, Timmy Hill in the 56 car, people like that. But I don't think you need to be insane by leaving $6,000, $8,000.
No, you're right. Yeah, okay. So we definitely should say that's too much. That's why I'm asking. The optimal lineup that the optimizer spit out left $1,200 on the table, which it never does that. It never leaves money on the table at a road course or wherever. Obviously, it will at a plate race. So that is definitely interesting to me. And so I'm not going to be afraid to leave money on the table. If I have drivers that I think can score enough for all points, then I'm going to play them. I have lineups where I left, I think, 2,000, and I think it can possibly win. And if we're trying to differentiate from other players out there who are really on the same, we got the question here about Norm Benning. If people are on the same targets, we're all drawing from the same pool. One of the ways to easily separate from chasing these guys in the back is to leave money on the table. I think we've got some questions. We probably should jump into those.
Yeah, I'll get into. I just want to answer with my optimizer, with my projections and everything. My highest optimal lineup is 49,200, and then I have one
that's still pretty low for
another one at
road course.
46, and then 47.9. So those are my top 3 lineups. So that's the range I'm kind of looking at.
Crazy. That is crazy. But and it's going to be the same thing tomorrow with the Xfinity Series. There's just too many players in play in the back with prices that aren't. I thought for sure they would jack these guys up, and yeah, I don't know. I think people are going to default to Austin Hill because they say, well, I got this money left over. I might as well play Austin Hill. I might as well play Brett Moffitt. And so you can really differentiate by saying, I'm just going to keep the money in my pocket and chase more place differential.
Yeah, it just like you said, we're at a point where we can really play everybody. Looking at the drivers who I think is chalk. I talked about this in my video, and I said it when we first started, but Brett Moffitt has been talked up in everything I've listened to today. Nice. And I think, look, say what you will about these Nice Motorsports cars, Moffitt can still get a top 5 in this car. He's going to easily be in the top 10, but I don't see him being that star GMS driver at road courses that we saw the last.
You know, it's a sponsor on Brett Moffitt this weekend.
Who is it?
It's nothing. It's another blank Nice truck.
Yeah, there you go. And so really to say Moffitt is the lock of the century, like some people are saying, I would really disagree there. And he's starting
Austin Hill easily, no doubt, especially if people love Moffitt. If I'm up there and making a choice, Austin Hill ran up front the entire time. He has a good truck. He even finished 8th in a Young Motorsports truck. Ooh, I mean, look at that. That's impressive. And that also should add to the Kaz Gralla people. If Austin Hill, in his first ever road race, finishes 8th in a young truck, then I think Gralla can definitely finish 8th. But yeah, I don't know necessarily. You're probably better at who else is chalk then, because I haven't read a lot. I did read Phil and and I think a normal distribution, we can throw that up there. I cannot believe this Norm Benning thing is a thing.
This is wild. So let me
just shows you the power of these, Walmart type DFS websites. They're so big and they have so much sway that they can push Norm Benning into. And I get it, I understand, but when I punch in the projection, 28th, 5x is not going to get it done.
No, it's not. And if you look at the road course race last year, I guess we're going to talk about Benning anyway. Then I'll get back to the chalk. If you look at Norm Benning last year,
well, he might be chalk. I mean, it seems like
he's going to go laps down. He doesn't have the speed, and he went. I think it was 4 or 5 laps down in the road race last year. Do you know how difficult that is at this track?
Let's also remind people this is a 40-car field. Typically, the field is around 30 cars. So if 10 cars wreck out and Benning's just out there turning laps, yeah, he can finish 20th. But if 10 cars wreck out, he's barely going to crack the top 30. We saw this over and over last year when they expanded the field. Those ugly punts never worked.
Yeah, I think that's too cute for me. And this coming from the guy who was all over. Dude, at 0.7%, oh, thank God I didn't know that, because I would have played him in everything.
He didn't even make 2.7% of the race.
And he still somehow outscored people, not by a lot.
I know, Ryan Newman.
He
outscored a big old negative number. Unbelievable.
Sheldon Creed is looking very popular. People are looking at him to lead a good portion of the race, and I do think it's going to happen. But the case is where he shuffles through in the stages. I don't think he gets there, even if he leads a good portion of the race. I think he gets outscored by people. He might still be optimal, but I see people like Gill and Friesen, Sam Mayer outscoring him on raw points that you might not need to go to Sheldon Creed like some people are going to.
Yeah, let me see what I've got here. So when we look at Creed and raw point totals, I do have him at the highest point, but I'm being really aggressive because I don't want him to completely ignore by the optimizer. I don't want to rule him out, so I've given him 12 hog points. And I've done that with a lot of drivers. I said yesterday that I was going to kind of shrink it down, but I ended up leaving it pretty wide open, pretty liberal with my projections because I just wanted to keep people into the pool as long as I could. And 12 seems pretty steep. But last year did he get 12 hog points in last year's race? I don't think he did. He got 11.25. So could he do better than that? Maybe. But I mean, just the way the cycling works, it's very difficult for these guys just to lead every lap because people are going to go with unconventional strategies. And even then, the race really worked out in his favor. It could have easily gone more towards Moffitt, and Moffitt led a lot of laps. So giving him 12 hog points is really pushing it.
And you got to remember that him and Moffitt really pulled away from the field, and there's a lot of people spinning out. If somebody got stuck, NASCAR is going to throw out a yellow, and I think the dominant performance that we even saw last year might be a stretch compared to this race. About the last guy that I think is looking at chalk would be in terms of people like Timmy Hill. Now, I
could get there, but I would say Murphy gets there before Hill.
I think more, I would say Murphy. That's tough. I think they finish very similar and around the same position because that the 3 positions back that Murphy has over here.
Nemechek truck is so much better, though.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's a good truck. It's got a sponsorship. I mean, really, what the problem is if you got slow and steady, which is going to be Timmy Hill versus the hair. And so, which would you rather? I think Camden Murphy might have a little bit more upside. Timmy Hill's probably safer. What did Tyler Hill do in this race last year?
He finished out. He spun out twice. He spun out twice last year.
Yeah, and he still get a decent finish though. I mean, he still finished 17th in fantasy points. What do you end up with? 31 points for a 5.3. That's fine. But really, we're just trying to look and see what did the car do, and the car finished in 16th. With 2 spin outs.
That's how bad the field is. So that's why they can both get in the top 15.
Yeah, they can.
So
going back towards Timmy Hill. Usually most of my lineups, just to let you peek behind the curtain, if I build a Camden Murphy lineup, I tried to also build that same lineup with Timmy Hill.
Oh man, you're giving the secret out. That's what I
yeah, like no one knew that. Wait, what? You can build a lineup with Camden Murphy and then do the same thing and swap in Timmy Hill? Oh my God, they're going to report us.
What? No.
All right. Do we have any other?
Let's see. Yeah, we got a lot. I mean, we're getting backed up here. Will rain affect it? Maybe in the first stage. I don't see weather being an issue as much as we thought. Pairing Creed and John Henry Nemechek, I don't want to do that because this is going to be a place differential race.
If you want to be really weird though, you want to kind of sway away from people. There's the idea of leaving a lot of money on the table. The only problem is I think a lot of people are going to do the Nemechek Creed thing too, and then just go with the obvious punt. So, because when you go with Nemechek and Creed, obviously then you only have 4 picks left. That's going to force your hand. You're going to end up with probably Murphy and Hill. So then you really only have 2 plays to separate. So if you do go that way, you probably aren't going to be that different in the end. You're going to end up in the same direction as everyone. I don't know how you build a Nemechek Creed lineup that is, I mean, it might be able to work. You might not need Hill and Murphy, but I think you probably will.
The reason why the whole Norm Benning is the thing, it's because he does actually have sponsorship.
We're now making it a thing.
Well, I guess we are too.
Nonsense.
But he does actually have a sponsorship this year, so he's not going to start in park. I don't see him starting in park. He's doing that whole thing to where if you pay him $50, he'll put your name on his car, and so like he has enough money to at least have tires for the first 3 races of the season. But he's going to be slow. He works at races where it's it's an attrition based race, but if it goes that way, there's people who are also going to do better.
He can go back there and just snooze. He'll hang on to the lead lap. He probably won't. He'll lose a couple laps, but he'll finish the race by pushing it maybe 60%. He can't do that in intermediate track. He'll get black flagged. He'll get black flagged at a short track. He can't do those things. This is one of the rare occasions where he can easily go out there and just hope other people fail and other people wreck.
Yeah, and this comes from a guy who I'm not playing Norm Benning, but I put him in a lineup to see what I was able to get.
The video talking about this very play, but it didn't work anymore when they went to the 40-car field. It stopped working.
And well, I mean, you have that; it doesn't work. And then if I'm going that low, I'll find the 200 to get Timmy Hill. I'll find the 100 more to get Murphy. I don't need Norm Benning in a lineup.
No, that's enough Norm Benning talk for the.
Yeah, I think we're good. Let's see, coaches for. So, I hate it when the mainstream talks about this. What did you post? Was it McDowell helping?
So McDowell was So I did this for you just to let people again behind the curtain about the stupidity that sometimes I write, because I had heard blah blah blah. Michael McDowell was a road coursing coach. finally I looked deeper into it. He rode go-karts and was like training, like when he was 15, he was training people to ride go-karts. Now that's somehow morphed into, in the DFS community, Michael McDowell used to train people in road racing. Not probably a part of that problem by, taking that myth and generating it. But I don't know. I haven't heard about Murphy coaching road racing. We know he started out in Xfinity and then turned into a monster truck driver.
I think it went the other way around.
Monster trucks. You
sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure because he was.
He is a current monster truck driver, isn't he?
I think part-time, but I know he was doing it. I think he was doing that before Xfinity. I don't know. I don't watch Monster Jam anymore. That's they made a playoffs for that, and I stopped taking that stuff seriously.
It's tough. Yeah, so I will admit I didn't find anything specifically that helped me out with Camden Murphy's road racing career. So I guess I will take abnormally distributed's word for that, but that's not going to weigh too much on me. I don't think. I'm fine with him. I mean, he's already, I don't need to bump him up any higher than I already have him. At 18th, he's already a home run. So
I got you. The road course ringers that I actually did look into was Parker Chase. He did an interview with a guy. I don't even remember what it was, but I was listening to him, and he was talking about how the deal kind of came through with Kyle Busch and how Kyle really liked him and how he helped Kyle during the Rolex 24, and that's mainly why he has this ride here, and because he's raced at Circuit of the Americas, which is the other race he's doing this year. So I have no reason to really doubt what Parker Chase can do. You have, who's the other guy?
We do have to worry, though, driving whatever sports car they're in, because I know we've got Trans Am guys, I think guys, maybe Porsche, maybe Mazda. It's hard to keep track of all this stuff. But a stock car handles completely different. And we have seen some of these, they've got stages to take it easy and figure it out. But we've even seen, like, Alex Tagliani sucked at this track last year. Alex Tagliani is a better road course racer than Parker Chase, period. No one's going to make an argument that Parker Chase or Lawless Allen or Jet Nolan are better than Alex Tagliani. And Alex Tagliani was a bit of a mess. Chris Wright has more experience than both those guys, and Chris Wright was a bit of a mess out here last year as well. Sometimes these road course guys, I mean, this is kind of a new phenomenon, but when you have a road course guy that maybe has a little too much confidence, but absolutely no practice in a stock car, that could be a bad situation. And Alex Tagliani was wrecking nonstop in that race. You go to the Xfinity race, and who was the guy? I think he was running for RCR who was causing a bunch of problems. Sam Bamber?
Yeah, Bamber, Barber, whatever it is.
Yeah, so if you want to fade these road ringers, I don't mind, because it's not the typical road ringer situation.
Yeah, it's different when they can get laps under them. Jet Nolan and Lawless, which the Lawless name is that's
first of all, with Lawless, he's in a Rayum truck, so it's very tough to trust him there.
He does have a sponsor. I saw that this morning. And he also said he's going to approach this just like iRacing.
I think it's his dad, though. Or no, is it Nolan? One of these guys, it's like their dad's landscaping company.
I think it's Lawless. Let me look.
Let's see. Where's Lawless Allen? Rayum Brothers Racing is what's showing up for me. Now, they don't update this feed nearly as often as I would like for it to. So, but I thought Nolan is Hype Motorsports. But I think one of the secondary sponsors is his dad.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. The guy who actually does have sponsorship is Jet Nolan from Nice.
Yeah,
and he's probably my favorite of the road course ringers. I do like Parker, but if you don't feel comfortable with him starting 22nd, if you would just like a safer play who I think won't wreck and get through the race, I'd probably lean Jet. And 7,300 is going to easily fit in lineups. I haven't seen really anybody talking about Jet because he's a name that you obviously have no information, no data on him in the NASCAR world, and in places like this, I like that type of stand.
Yeah, you got to go and Google his name and read articles, and most people aren't going to do that. So, yeah, you might get a little bit of an edge there. Any more questions before we start to run through?
Let's see. I'm going through. I'm learning about Murphy and his Monster Jam. What is this here? Let's see. Oh,
Jennifer Cobb, no, unfortunately, she can't be in play. She hasn't been playing a long time. We loved playing her in 2019. Never really worked that much, but can't do it this time.
So here, I got to talk about Haley Deegan.
Oh God! Well, just because you talked about a girl, you got to talk about another girl. We're really
no, because
okay,
look,
go for it.
So, and this isn't just me bringing this up, and I'm not.
I know I got some messages about how you and I disagreed about Haley Deegan. We really
did we? I'm pretty sure. I just want to put on the record that Haley Deegan has done a lot of road course racing. It might not be on the asphalt, but she has grown up road course racing in trucks, on dirt bikes, and everything. So she can read.
West. She ran at this racetrack last year in the ARCA series. Finished better than Chandler Smith.
I don't remember who it was, but somebody on YouTube was saying that this is her first ever road course race, which is wrong because she did the ARCA race last year. Like I said, she's been.
West series. They run at Sonoma. Yeah. I don't think she did the Utah race, but she did the Sonoma races.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Strong competition in those.
Yeah, I mean, Haley has experience here. So if you, this is about the only place I would actually trust her going in with no time or not a whole lot of time in the truck. I mean, I liked her at Kansas last year because she has skill. Entering this road course race, especially in terms of finding where to brake, shift through the gears, this is a place that it actually leans towards what she's grown up racing.
She also is familiar with the sights, right? One of the things is just knowing the visual reference points of, all right, like you said, with the brake patterns. Like, all right, this is the thing that I look at when I brake. This is what I see coming out of this. She's done it before. She got an ARCA practice and an ARCA race, not just iRacing like the rest of these guys.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind because some people are talking like she's just. Natalie Decker out here.
She'll be funny. Well, even Natalie Decker finished at a top 20 DFS day and ended up being all right even after a couple wrecks. But then again, Natalie Decker ran might have been Trans Am race or a Grand Am race at the Daytona Road course the year before. So she had a little bit of practice, but I'm not as high on her. I still have her finishing 13th, which is fine. You can go a little bit higher. But the thing is, if you wanted to start pushing her up, I've got her finishing 13th. But there's still 22 drivers here that I don't see her beating any of these other guys in front of her. It's not really a condemnation of Haley Deegan and her talent. It's more just, she could beat Austin Wayne Self, but she's not better than Mayer or Gilliland or Kraus or Herbst or Gralla, or maybe she beats Chandler Smith. I doubt it. Tyler Ankrum, Friesen, maybe Parker Chase. I doubt it. These guys are it's nothing against her. It's just the competition's kind of tough up top. So I wouldn't pick her out of your pool completely. It might be a way to get different, but
let's see. I have her finishing 14th. And so, it doesn't necessarily work in an optimal sense, but she's not going to be, a rolling chicane out there like some of these guys.
Once they spread out, it's nothing to worry about. We saw that last year. Once they start turning laps, you're good. But as soon as you get a caution and you get a restart, it's just madness at this racetrack, getting into turn one. And we haven't really seen what they're going to do with limited visibility. I don't know how well the lighting is going to be. I'm going to assume that NASCAR messed up and there's not enough lighting, as always. So that could be a problem as well. I mean, last year they were complaining? Well, they were complaining with the dirt.
They fixed that. Yeah, now you got this gigantic tire.
Well, they fixed that because it's going to be great for the top tier, like Martin Truex Jr. Obviously, turning the racetrack into ice, that's bad for a Sheldon Creed or a John Hunter Nemechek. For the guys that are hitting their marks over and over, and then they just randomly hit dirt, so that was bad. So they fixed that, and that's good for your top tier drivers. But putting those turtles down, it's going to be a disaster for these lower tier mid-range value guys.
Yeah, as
I don't think any value driver or mid-range driver, especially ones without experience, they're all they shouldn't be chalk because they can all hit those turtles. They've been I put in my at racefortheprize.com. These guys have been practicing on iRacing. It's the best thing they could probably do. Thousands of laps on iRacing, and they've probably been getting into the dirt a little bit and moving over a little bit, and that's a habit that they've developed. Now all of a sudden, oh yeah, you can't do that anymore. All of a sudden, that racing line that you got used to, your car's going to be destroyed. The splitter will be ripped off if you get into those turtles. That's going to be really challenging. I mean, you have two options. You got to dial it down big time in the chicane or push it to the limit. And yikes, that's bad. I think it's going to be really bad on these middle tier value plays.
Yeah, not only is it that you have to worry about actually hitting that, but say if you hit the turtles or you get spun into the turtles,
you can take somebody else out.
Yeah, you're going to take somebody out if your splitter goes over that and then gets into the dirt on the other side on the exit. You're tearing your car. Like, it's even worse now. Either
It'll be
way,
fine for like the chalky top tier drivers as long as they get to the front and get away from the chaos. But Bubba Wallace, I mean, if you remember years ago, Bubba Wallace's first race at the Roval in practice, he hit everything. Like, they had to change the track around. Bubba Wallace ran into too many things. Remember, they had to get rid of like so many. They had to change it because it was just too dangerous. Man,
destroying too many cars. Sean was saying Creed's looking like he's going to be around 35% owned. I don't know.
No, I'll go away from that. If he's going to be that high, I was already leaning towards, I think I'm going to play a bunch of guys in the back, and I'm going to be heavier on chase and place differential because people are just following the rules. Oh, you got to play a lap leader. Well, do you have to play a lap leader at Daytona? No. Is this thing more like Daytona than a road course? Yes. So which way do you want to go? I would rather not follow the herd.
Yeah, and I'm very tempted to not play anybody. Maybe Johnny Sauter would be the closest guy to the front plane, but if I want to make lineups really stack him from the back, I mean it's going to be from 20th on back.
Mark Smith killed me, by the way. Yeah, all those guys. Mark Smith had a niece truck, was starting in the back. I know he doesn't have any experience, but just take it. He just spins, wrecks, damages. Hosever was another one that destroyed me last year. But the point is, like, all these guys can destroy your lineups. All right, I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you're good. Or so let's use Derek Cope for an example of how something can destroy a lineup or not destroy a lineup. So he started 32nd. He ends up with -7 points. He finishes dead last.
You can still cash with that lineup.
I had lineups that weren't dead with Derek Cope in them. And so it's the same situation here to where, let me think of somebody who's starting in the back. If you have somebody like Chase Purdy, which I'm not very high on, or Derek Kraus.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, like I just brought up a name in the back, but let's go a little farther back. Let's say Tanner Gray starts 33rd, finishes dead last. You can still cash.
Yeah,
they're
all pretty safe in that.
Yeah, it's not going to kill your lineup in a race like this, and that's why I'm going to be very heavy on the drivers in the back.
And that's the thing. Like, if you play, even playing Haley Deegan, she can go backwards and just not go forward enough that she can hurt some lineups. It's crazy to say, 23rd, that's not too close. It might be in this lineup. But the way pricing is, and it might be. So I'm just throwing that out there. All right, you want to go through my value or my raw total and talk about these guys?
Let's look at value because I'm okay. Let's see where people might be looking at.
Camden Murphy, we really have already touched on this. He is in a Nemechek truck, and we do know that Nemeko has failed plenty of times. If you've been playing DFS trucks over the last couple years, it can go the wrong direction. A lot of bad luck, though. It wasn't really anything to do with the setup. The setups, the speed in these trucks have been really good. When they don't make mistakes, the truck is easily. I mean, if they would have done qualifying, he would have qualified inside the top 20. You agree?
I agree.
So the truck's there. It's just avoiding damage. I have nothing else to say. Does he have a lot of road? Apparently, he has some road experience, which is a huge advantage over the rest of this field. So I like Camden Murphy. No problem there playing him.
Same thing. And I mean, if you look back at when John Nemechek was back in this car, sometimes he'd still run the 4 races without any sponsor on him. And when you're looking at this 8 truck that has sponsorship on the car, I'm not concerned about them starting and parking or anything like that. Now,
we've seen, if you want to go super deep, and you don't have to, I'll just tell you now, if you go into when Camden Murphy has raced this truck without sponsors, it parks. And you can see like the red ignition, suspension problem, clutch problem. You'll see that on Racing Reference. But the races where he's had a sponsor, he runs. Well, he has a sponsor. It's kind of a cool sponsor. It's a video game, a racing video game by THQ. If you're an old school nerd, you'll remember THQ kind of started the whole wrestling video game genre with WCW versus the World. Yeah. And WC, like I was like a teenager, so it shows how old this is. WCW versus the World, WCW versus NWO. And then all the WWE games originally were all THQ. I think they're EA now, but when they were really good, it was THQ, which was ripping off Fire Pro Wrestling, but we're going down a giant rabbit hole that no one's going to know about. So anyway, nerd alert. Next guy, in value is Timmy Hill. It's the same play. I think he's safer. What do you think?
I think he's safer, and we've seen how well Timmy Hill has ran, even in the Cup Series. When he's been told to run before they start in park, Timmy can get through the field.
Well, look at his results last year in his truck. Those are pretty good for a small team. Those are the results of someone that knows what they are doing. So obviously Las Vegas might be a different situation, but post-COVID, 22, 23, 18, 19, 21, 9, 21, that sounds very safe. That sounds methodical, meticulous, like a driver who knows, all right, this is what I'm going because it's his team. He has to fund it. He probably has an idea of what he's trying to do. Very safe, much safer. Kevin Murphy's going to go out there and monster jam this thing. So
I bet if you show him the race rating, his positions are much farther back in the field because he's just riding. He's being safe. He's waiting for these guys to wreck and do stuff.
So there's the rating. Like it's lower, but he just waits, right? It's a truck series.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, if you want to get even deeper, you just look at what Tyler Hill did in this truck last year. Tyler Hill finished 16th, so that's pretty good. All right, next. And if we have any questions, we can stop at any time. We got some THQ talk, WWF, no mercy. And when you could start doing that creator wrestler stuff, it got bananas. It got off the wall. It was pretty crazy. Those were college days. When we get in a wrestling podcast, I don't know. Derek Kraus, I like him. And what I really like is that there's not a lot of obvious data for people. So maybe that's scary. But then again, like everything is known anymore. I mean, there's 17 million podcasts and YouTube videos, and everybody watching is doing their homework. So maybe they're not, but if people are doing their homework, they'll see, Derek Kraus was pretty good in the K&N West Series. I know the K&N West Series is not that great, but you look at the competition he was racing against, it was pretty strong competition. He was finishing right there with the Kevin Harvicks, with the Will Rogers, with Daniel Suarez and Eric Jones. I like Kraus a lot.
Yeah, I like Kraus more than Tanner Gray. I think Tanner Gray has the highest possibility of wrecking between these guys in the back.
Absolutely. And like we can just look at the data and see that you compare, like Derek Kraus there was a reason he made it to the playoffs last year in a small team. He was very consistent. He did not wreck very often. It wasn't kind of towards the end of the season that he had some bad luck, but he's a smart racer and he knows what he's supposed to do with his team. And, I'm got a ton of sunlight coming in. The sun is finally shining in North Carolina after all this craziness. Yeah, I like him much. And his truck, I don't know, though. Do you think Kraus's truck is better than Tanner Gray's as I fix these blinds?
I think it certainly is. I know Tanner Gray is running the Todd Gilliland racing machines, and Tanner Gray makes a lot of mistakes. I'm pretty sure he got off the track a ton last year in this race. I know he didn't DNF. Did he DNF? I don't remember how he did off the top of my head.
No, he finished 15th.
I'm pretty sure he was off the track.
They were off the track.
Yeah, that is true. They were off the track.
We'll look at Tanner Gray's lap by lap. A decent stage 1. Stage 2, he cycles back. He doesn't really make any moves. He's just hanging in there, not really doing anything. Looks like he's just turning laps. And then he stays out here on the last caution and holds position. Does he pass anybody? No. Does he make it to the end of the race? Yes. And I would imagine he'll do the same thing, probably 15th. I don't really think it will be that much of a problem. Looks like the truck's going to stay in one piece. I'm not going to dive into the pit data. I'm not going to look at green flag pits. We'll get to pit because of it, and I'm not going to do it. Not right now. I think he's fine. But I like Kraus more because I think Kraus has a higher upside.
Yeah, and the only reason Kraus didn't finish well last time is because he had a battery issue that they were not able to resolve at the end of the race, and so his car died. That's why he finished where he did last time. Sean, where are you getting these ownerships from? Not questioning that. I'm just curious because if Mayer is at 40, I'm at 100%.
I think it will be high. I'm going to say Mayer will be high.
I know he'll be high.
I'll be 9,200. Sam Mayer for. I might try to swap him out of some lineups. If that's the case, if he's 40%, then I might try to swap him out of some. Mayer's good. We are really overreacting to a Bristol win. If he doesn't win that race at Bristol and really make a brand name, he was decent in 2019 in his part-time races, and I think he's been okay in the ARCA series. But 15th at Dover, 9th. I don't really care about Michigan. 4th at Gateway. I don't know.
I think Mayer's the best play.
He's got really good top fives in his K. Like there's Watkins Glen races in the K&N East series. So, yeah. If I didn't know anything about ownership, I would be all in on Sam Mayer.
Yeah, like I said, I'm already 100% on Sam. So.
Woo!
I don't mind because you know where he's starting. He doesn't kill my lineup. If he wrecks,
he is 92. But then again, priced at salary doesn't matter that much. So 9,200 for Sam Mayer just doesn't matter because I'm leaving money on the table. And yeah, there's just plenty of value available. All right, let's look at value wise. Johnny Sauter. All right, here we go. I think for every Sauter lineup, you need to build a non-Sauter lineup. We know. Look, it's this Canada run here is going to definitely sway a lot of ownership. We'll see that. Oh, he knows how, and he does. And he was good last year at the Daytona Road course. And for the 9 millionth time, I will mention Johnny Sauter was in 11th place on the last lap. He wrecked in the chicane with Alex Tagliani. So he was running well. And that was, he had issues throughout the race too as well. I don't know if he had a battery issue like everybody else, but I know he had some sort of thing that went wrong here early in the race. It might have been a battery issue.
I think he had a battery issue as well.
Infinger had one. Gilliland had another mechanic. Like there's several. But we shouldn't have that that was summer heat was causing a lot of problems. So Sauter is probably going to be popular, but anyone who's played DFS over the last 2 years knows that it just never works. I mean, Dover it worked in 2019. This is the only race he won. He looked awesome in that race, but then fell apart. And then 2020, I think Deegan, he was okay. But, I mean, you look at his rating rank, it's pretty decent in some of these races, but then you look at his actual finish, and it's just terrible. He just has the worst luck. He was going to win that Michigan race, and then he wrecks. And, I like Sauter, but we know that he can wreck. Where are you?
And I like Sauter as well. I'm not getting to him just on the premise that I like plays in the back more, but I think it's such a value on his price in general. Like he should be a lot higher. Because he is top.
Yeah, that's crazy. We've seen him priced. You look at last year when he was starting probably in this similar spot, like $9,000, $10,000.
Yeah, he was like 9.2.
He was wrecking every damn. Because the reason why he was starting so far back was because he wasn't finishing races, and yet they were still pricing him through the roof. And then here he's 7,800. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Last thing that I'll mention in terms of teams maybe having issues or not being able to start the car. Last week is a great example in qualifying. We had 4 cars have issues before even taking a queued lap. As soon as they fired the car up on pit road, they couldn't get them started. Tim Veen's freaking drive shaft. So
I was doing my homework on Homestead recently and rewatching the Homestead Xfinity races. Do you remember Homestead Xfinity 1?
That was the
Probably
Chase
not.
Briscoe.
Yeah, Chase Briscoe's shooting spacers out. And the thing is, like, oh, well, he's done for. And for whatever reason, NASCAR's like, oh, let's run a couple more caution laps here. Like, they run 7 or 8 caution laps at the beginning of the race to allow Briscoe to work on his car. He's 6 laps down, but is able to, like, get back on the lead lap by playing all kinds of games. But it's just another example of anyone can fail when you don't run one practice lap. Anything can fall apart when you don't allow them one single practice lap. No one's safe.
Let's see. The main reason I'm bringing that up is because DraftKings has the lock for the slate to happen pretty much right when the race starts, and they time it off very well. And so between cars rolling off pit road to do their 2 to 3 pace laps, I guarantee we're going to see a problem tonight of somebody not being able to start the car or doing something. And so if you see a situation to where, hey, these guys are having trouble, or maybe they can't get the car fired, or somebody loses a drive shaft again, switch them out of your lineup real quick before, the slate locks. And sometimes the TV won't even cover that. So that's when you got to be on Twitter.
You're toast on that. And look, if you've got, like I do, which is Sling TV, which I like, it's all right, but I'm like a 2-minute delay, so I'm screwed anyway. What am I going to do? And then none of the reporters are going to be there giving us information. So
remember that time we didn't know Nellie Decker wasn't even going to be in the race by the time they went green.
They were playing her. She was on life support, and people got her in the roster. God, man, we're degenerates. Degenerates. There was I don't know. I'm not playing Purdy. And then with the Timothy Peters, I haven't found anything out about these trucks. This is we were talking about this pre-show. I wish that these reporters, instead of every single one of them doing an Alvin Kamara commercial, like, hey, can you tell us about these trucks? Where did they come from? How long have they been? Like, what's this Rackley team? What's it? Don't know anything about it. Don't know anything about it.
I can't get any information on where their chassis is coming from or anything like that. If Peters is involved,
It's gotta be decent.
I can't assume he's running crap equipment because he's been offered crap equipment and he's turned it down. So this has to be something.
They don't have a sponsor. Chad Kendrick. That sounds familiar. I'm not. This is too close to lock to start going down crew chief rabbit holes.
Yeah. Let's see who else.
On your own on that one. But that being said, you might be able to. I guarantee the ownership is going to be lower because people just don't know. Mm-hmm. Unless people are just looking at Timothy Peters' spreadsheet previous results when it was a completely different Timothy Peters. But I don't know.
The Chase Purdy is interesting because some people are talking about him purely the fact that he's run a GMS truck. And while that would be
terrible last year,
that would be important on a 1.5 mile on an oval track. But a guy who struggles that much on oval track on a road course here, I don't care what equipment he's in. I'm not really interested in that.
What was he? I mean, he did get a road race last year. No, he didn't. I just got that labeled wrong. Why does it say Canada? It should say Canada. Should fix that. Anyway, whatever.
Caitlin says he's running old GMS equipment, which is what I would guess. I would assume that probably like a 2019, 2020 chassis, somewhere around there. That's just what
he doesn't have any. He's just a late model guy, oval guy. Hasn't run a lot of. I don't think he has any road racing experience. When I was looking through, he's been good as a late model racer. He's got a couple wins and kind of some premier late model events. But this is not a late model race. This is a road course race.
Yeah, if you want to,
okay. Well, like you want to go Peter's route, that's fine. But there's still so many good plays back here. All right, let's go back to who's next in our value. Casgrala. Young Motorsports, that is a little bit of a concern, not a huge concern. All these cars finished in the top 20 last year, or trucks finished in the top 20 last year. As I mentioned before, Austin Hill in Young Motorsports equipment in 2018 finished 8th at a road course. The truck should be fine. Will Casgrala push it too much? I don't know. Did he push it too much last year in the Cup race? Apparently not. So I think he is fine too. Should be pretty popular. I don't have any bad things to say about Grala.
Mm-hmm. I don't either. I do not either.
I mean, there's a reason why he's ranking. Well, he's 5th in value. He's probably top 10 in raw value. He's close to that in raw value. And I've got him finishing 10th, which might be a little soft. You could probably go a little bit more. I bet you've got him finishing a little bit higher.
Let me see where I have Kaz at. I mean, he finished 8th in the Cup Series race, for crying out loud, and that's against good drivers.
And I know that they're going to, they're doing the pit cycling. Yeah, but there are other drivers that do the pit before stage break, and they're unable to hold on to their position during the restart and unable to hold on to their position throughout the course of a run. Grala obviously held on to his position. Yeah, they played games, and I know it was pretty good equipment. The number 3 car is pretty good, but he went in just no experience, whatever. Just get in that car, and it was fine. So you put him in here, I think it'll be fine.
I have Kaz for 11th, but getting 10th would, I mean, let's see. Earlier in the week, I had him getting 13th. I have him getting 11th right now. So that's where I'm at.
So we got a Herbst. Is it Herbst question or Lassard question? I'm really pushing it, giving Lassard 4th, I believe. And even when I do that, I don't know if that 6X at $8,000 is going to be enough in this specific race. 6X from an $8,000 Rafael Lassard in a typical grid at a road course would be very chalky. Mm-hmm. But given this crazy grid and pricing that's kind of soft, that's probably not going to get it done. And that's his absolute ceiling. I know he finished 3rd here last year. his laps aren't that impressive. I mean, he got up there. He did hold on to the spot though, right? So he didn't make any mistakes. He started up front. I think he's more of a 7th place car. Things went his way. He held his position. He didn't spin off track. He's fine, but I don't see him beating Creed. If Creed doesn't mess up, I don't see him beating John Hunter Nemechek. If Nemechek doesn't mess up, maybe he outruns Moffitt. I don't see him beating Matt Crafton. So I think 4th is probably fair. You give him another spot, that's fine. He still probably isn't quite optimal. He's close. Maybe it's a way to differentiate. Maybe it's not.
I mean, it's a risky way to differentiate. I think he does hit value. If it was a normal week to where he qualified 12th, I would really like him, knowing that he had that speed.
Well, he's never worked with this team. So this is getting deep in the weeds. So obviously he's never worked with this team. Last year he finished 3rd and had been working with Kyle Busch Motorsports for 2 years. If you really want to go deep, there is a language barrier. He's a French language speaker, so English is his 2nd language. He's all of a sudden going to jump in with a new team, with a new crew chief, with a new spotter. You could run into some possible issues. Just throwing that out there. I don't know. That's probably a little too deep in the weeds, but I would be more worried like, hey, this is a new team he's never raced for. He's just going to jump in and finish 4th in his first time with a brand new team. We saw like GMS worked several times last year, but we also saw people jump in a GMS truck for the first time and not really do much.
Chase Purdy.
There's a handful of them. Mm-hmm. Even Chase Elliott had some kind of, even when he had good races, they weren't quite like what you expected from him. I know he won that Atlanta race, but that thing was goofy.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Johnny. I mean, I think Johnny Sauter's bad luck last year just had to be with the bad luck.
But he wasn't very good the year before that either. His whole Thor Motorsports run.
Something is wrong with Thor Motorsports. Like when you're switching manufacturers right before the season, when you can't keep anything. I mean, there's smoke everywhere. I mean,
you remember at the end of the 2019 season, they had all those cars in the playoffs and they had the engine failures. They had 3 cars. Like somehow Kraft had won a championship. I don't know how he advanced and won that championship. But you remember, Crafton's car failed, Infinger's car failed, Rhodes' car, like everybody. Mm-hmm. And apparently, it's an OEM. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it's OEM engine, but you guys are tinkering enough with those that why are all of your cars failing? Trucks failing.
Yeah.
There's something going on there with Thor Motorsports. We'll see. I mean, they did win a couple races last year somehow.
Yeah, I'll let you take this one. Eagles is asking if Creed wins, is he optimal?
Well, part of that is,
man, that sun is kind of you.
Yeah, I know. I could put up a sheet, but I'm not going to do that now. Next time, I'll remember. A lot of that has to do with other people. You would think 9 times out of 10, but I won't even go that far. Most cases, Creed winning the race, he's going to lead laps, he should be optimal. But what about everybody else? I mean, a lot of it depends on how well Mayer does. It depends on how well Gilliland does and Friesen does. And if these place differential guys go to the front, Mayer can get higher than that. Kraus, Gillen can get a little bit higher than that. I mean, I guess gun to my head, yeah, Creed's optimal. Most cases.
I think he is if he leads over 20 laps and wins. But I think that's what you need. Because if he's leading laps, he's going to get the fast laps. I'm not concerned about that.
This is the definition of a small sample size. Yes, he looked good in that Daytona Road course. But it's just one race. We are really weighing in that one single race very heavily. And there's probably need to have a little bit more caution moving forward. Nemechek has a much bigger sample size of being a better road racer. And yet we're looking at one race with Creed saying, oh, yeah, jam him in. I don't know. I mean, Nemechek, I don't know.
That's tough. That works. That just.
Who do you think has a better truck, Creed or Nemechek?
Creed.
Is it close?
No.
You really think Creed's truck is that good?
I think, yeah.
So this is the part of the show where we need to stop and remind people we're talking about Sheldon Creed and John Hunter Nemechek, 2 drivers that are notorious for destroying trucks. They are notorious for. Sheldon Creed had never won a legitimate race. He won the rain-shortened Kentucky race, but he never won a real race until the Daytona Road Course race. John Hunter Nemechek won some truck races. He won a race in the 42 with Chip Ganassi. But other than that, these guys tear trucks up. There is a very strong case to fading these wreckers. They're going to probably be way too aggressive because it's the only thing they know. Creed can't dial it down. Nemechek can't dial it down. It could be bad for both of them. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's the defending champion. How are you going to fade him?
Oh, yeah, that really matters, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I
All right.
we got
Where were we? We're slowly getting through these. Sam Mayer. We've talked about him enough. Strong. You got to go to the KN East stats, top fives there. He has the road course background in the deep stats if you want to look at them. Yeah, I mean, I know it's not a truck race, and I know he doesn't have any experience at this road course, but he's starting 36th. I'm fine with it. Tanner Gray, we've already talked about kind of both of those plays. They're neck and neck, which is crazy because they're not really close at all price-wise. If you, for whatever reason, you didn't have the money, then yeah, fine, go to Tanner Gray. But I see in most builds, you can easily fit both of them or any. It's fine. Okay. I like Mayer a little bit more, but it's not huge.
And then Michael, real quick, because he asked about projected ownership. From what I'm hearing from all the other guys making content out there, is that Moffitt is the play at the high end of the.
Sorry about the sun, guys.
Of the prices, you're good. For the 500, I looked like I was a ghost without the sun affecting me. Anyway, I think Hill actually. I don't know what his ownership is. I don't have that projected right now, but if anything, I feel like people are going to have trouble getting up to him. Like if you're playing Austin Hill, you're going out of your way to find that money for him, even with all the value at the bottom.
Well, I think it's worth going out of your way to sway away from some of the. Austin Hill's going to get a fifth place finish. Austin Hill's going to finish fifth. I feel more confident that Austin Hill can finish fifth than Brett Moffitt. There's no question in my mind because now, do I think he can win the race? No. But, I mean, Austin Hill's won some races I didn't think he could win. His equipment is much better than Brett Moffitt's. His team is much better than Brett Moffitt's. He's worked with his team. Everything will be fine there. I believe that he is a safer play than Brett Moffitt, and I have no problem going in that direction.
I completely agree.
All right. I think there's another question. Two hogs. So my case against two hogs is just that there are too many place differential guys in the back. It can work, but Nemechek and Creed need both of these perfect days and perfect scenarios. It's very hard for both those things to line up. I would say that's not very probable for both of them to really hit this number. I put it in there just so I don't rule people out, but it's more likely that one has a big day and one does not. And there's just too many of these guys in the back that can score points. So I am no to hogs.
Let me look. How many laps is the race? 44?
Yeah, and we already talked about this because if you do go the two hog lineup, now, and I'm not playing it. Like if you want to say that Moffitt's a hog, fine, then yeah, you can have two hogs. If you're going to say Austin Hill's but he's really a place differential play. When we're talking about two hogs, we're really talking about, I think, Nemechek and Creed. And once you play those two guys, your lineup is going to get forced into a certain direction, and you're going to end up with a lot of the same plays as everybody else. So for that reason as well, I am not huge on trying to chase the fast laps and lap sled guys.
Yeah, and in case you guys don't know, since it's only 44 laps, there's only 11 lap sled DK points and only 19.8 fast laps points. So say if Creed has a great race, and I'll be generous, I'll give him 18 laps led. That's 4.5 points. If he leads 10, it's 5. I mean, he has to dominate. He literally has to be a dominator.
And he can actually dominate this race in just the way that the pit cycling works. He just doesn't lead a bunch of laps. He has to work through the field. He can have the best car, have the best day, but just by the strategy, he just has to wait. We see, if you look at the Canada race from 2 years ago, Brett Moffitt scored 22 hog points, which is really impressive. Now, I don't want to read too much into this, but the entire second stage, he was not a part of the race because he ended up winning stage 1. He had to work through traffic all through stage 2. He cycled to the front in stage 3, and then it went green. That was really hard for him to do. And he still had the best car, wasn't the best driver. No one was even close to him. And he missed out on all of stage 2's points because of the way the cycling works and passing through the field at a road course. So there's a lot of ways that Creed cannot be optimal.
Mm-hmm. A lot of ways.
Kaz or Gray, that's a pretty good question there. That I really the first answer is going to be, well, play Kaz lineup and play a Gray lineup. But gun to your head, you got to play a Kaz or a Gray lineup. Well, in cash, I'm going to go with Gray because he's not going to hurt me as much.
Mm-hmm.
Projection-wise, I got, 46 here for Gray. I got 48 for Gralla. Gray's got to get 15. Gralla's got to get top 10. I'm going to say I will probably go Gray.
Let's see. This is a little peek behind the curtain. So I have Tanner Gray projected for 42, and then I have Kaz Gralla projected for 44 points.
It's close.
So it's very close.
You're probably going to build 2 lineups, so whatever. You're probably going to build both of them. I think, like, if you want to ask, like, if I look at all of my lineups, I probably have a little bit more Gray than I do Kaz Gralla. And maybe it's just I'm playing it safe. You want to be a little bit more aggressive, you go with Kaz Gralla, but I bet Gralla is going to have more ownership.
Really?
I think he will.
That's interesting.
He's got more of a brand name, and I believe that's going to drive it a little bit further.
And I would think Gray would be more popular.
Where's the ownership guy at when we need it?
Yeah, right.
You guys turn all these ownerships out. What's the Gray ownership? What's the Gralla ownership? That could help, even though we don't know if these numbers. So people are looking like, honestly though, ownership numbers here are just based on projections. Probably, like, I could run an ownership, but it's going to be based on my brain and my thoughts. How do you project ownerships for a grid like this with pricing like this that are tracked? They really have only had one, so it's kind of goofy.
Okay, well, let me answer. I mean, this is with my projections in the optimizer, but I have, and this is with the 150 lineups that I made. So the optimizer put Gralla in 27% of my lineups, and it put Gray in 26%. So
there it is. No answer.
Yeah, no real answer there.
Yeah. All right. So going back value-wise, we're at Friesen. I like Friesen a lot. We probably should have spent more time on Friesen.
Yeah, I guess we just missed him.
He should be pretty popular. The 3 road races he's been in, check out. I know he had tons of mechanical issues last year, and that's going to be a concern. And he had mechanical issues in this race last year. He had a battery issue, but he was able to rebound from that and finish 10th. If you have a small issue like that, there's going to be enough cautions. There's going to be enough wave arounds and lucky dogs and ways to hang on to the lead lap that you can get away with one significant mistake. And Friesen usually has one significant mistake, but we're talking about skill, a decent truck. I like him. I can't weigh the fact that he had bad luck that heavily. So Mayer or Friesen, where are you at?
I know. Let me look. I know I'm high on both. I have very similar. Mayer, as I said, I have 100% of right now. And I have Friesen in all but 2 lineups.
Woo!
So, I mean, those would probably be the 2 guys that I would build around for, to start.
I would caution that because you can look at Stuart Friesen, what he did to us last year.
Right.
He makes mistakes. He went terrible. I guess we are being pretty tough on Friesen because he was in a championship race in 2019, and then 2020 just.
He got wrecked a lot last year, like in situations that weren't his fault.
He actually wrecked Christian Eckes at the finish line in this race last year. Dumped him at the finish line.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And that's a dangerous spot. You're in the tri-oval. You're basically at top speed. You turn a guy into the infield grass. Yeah. Eckes clips. It was bad. Really dirty move, but whatever. Doesn't matter going to this race, but anyway. All right. Yeah, we like it. We like Friesen a lot. And Parker Chase. I'll admit I haven't watched any of Parker Chase. I didn't go back and watch the Rolex 2019 race and analyze this lap by lap, but we know that he has experience. He's in a Kyle Busch truck. His price is not too high. He's starting in the middle. He works. I still like these guys in the back more.
Hold on, I just went blank because I forgot if it was Chase
or here we go. Chase, Nolan, or if it's Nolan, Allen.
It all just blends together. Hold on, I gotta look at these. I gotta look at the ARCA race last year. Because one of these guys ran the ARCA race.
I don't think any of these guys did.
No, he did. It was he finished. Where is he at?
Parker Chase did.
Parker Chase. He finished 8th. So I went back and watched this earlier today, and
you watched the ARCA race over
4X because I wanted to see where he was at.
4X,
Nobody talked about it. Yeah, I can't watch it at that speed, and so Parker on every restart he would basically let everybody by. He was not racing at the start of the on the restarts and everything.
You're right. I do got it. He got a top 10 finish in the Menard series.
And he would be running 12th, 11th because by default he's better than half the guys here. But he would let a lot of the guys by and then pass them over the course of green.
Oh, okay.
And so that's another reason why I like Parker Chase a lot because one, he has experience at this track in a stock car. And
he probably has IMSA experience too as well.
Yeah, he played it very smart. And so that's another reason why I'm kind of high on Parker Chase.
Okay. Yeah. So he's got the ARC, he's got the stock car experience, he's got the obviously the Rolex and plenty of road course racing in the IMSA, which I kind of value that more than I just don't know what to make of these Trans Am series. We saw Brandon Jones run a bunch of Trans Am races, and it didn't help him at all. And that's kind of been the case for all these young Xfinity drivers who would do like a Trans Am race before the race, like Mid Ohio, never translated, ever, never helped them out. It actually kind of hurt them because the braking zones were so much different. Mm-hmm. So that Trans Am stuff that Nolan and who's the other guy? Lawless Allen. Probably the IMSA stuff is going to be more beneficial to Parker Chase.
Yeah, let's see. Why not both Gray and Gralla? You can go that way.
Yeah, no, I think you're going to end up with like jamming Gray and Gralla. You're going to jam in Mayers and Gillilands and just jam as many of these place differential guys. Again, I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier this morning. It looks like I'm just going to kind of go plate racing, play these guys in the back. Mm-hmm. I think you run this race 100 times, more often than not, it's going to be the place differential guys that pull through instead of the lap leaders. Look, what if there is rain and we run a bunch of laps under yellow? Those are fast laps that Creed's going to lose, that he can't afford to lose. Yeah. You start taking those fast laps away from Creed and Nemechek, during stage break, we run 2 or 3 more laps, which is huge. I mean, those are points that those guys can't afford to lose, and it doesn't hurt the guys in the back whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
We're already over an hour. We got to speed up.
Right at our hour.
Haley Deegan is fine. I think in a normal circumstance, we would have liked her a lot, but there's just too much value on the board. There's too many better plays. Maybe you go different.
Yeah. Okay, so let's end it with this. Who was your one guy that you like to be different in the lineup?
Okay. It's got to be a guy in the back. I've talked a little bit about Austin Hill and how it seems like people don't like him, but let me go a little bit deeper. Herbst might be the guy. I'm not going to go there. We did talk a little bit about Timothy Peters and how, if I'm not comfortable with Peters, then I imagine that no one's touting Peters, so that might be a place to go. Let me look. Yikes. Do I have to go towards the front to get different? Is Nemechek different?
Yeah, I'd say he's.
I think Nemechek is a guy I'm kind of swaying. I like Austin Hill a little bit. Who is the least chalky of these guys in the back? Probably Gilliland. Probably Gilliland. Do you think?
Yeah, a lot of people aren't looking at Gilliland. I was going to say, and I don't think I'm going to do this. If you really want to, if you
don't want to get too cute, but I know you're going to throw something out there that's too cute. And I can't wait.
I think it is too cute for me. But if you're expecting a whole lot of ownership on, say, like Moffitt, Friesen, these guys, I mean, do you throw Tate Fogelman in there and hope that he doesn't wreck?
No. It could work when he finished 19th last year, but
what do I have?
You need him to have his best day, and you need all of these guys to fail.
Let's see. Oh, I have him getting 3 more positions and getting 20 DK points. So that's
Yeah,
right.
I've got him as high as 20th, and he did finish 19th in this race. He's going to go out there and be safe, and there'll be other people wrecking and failing. I think the young motorsports trucks are less likely to fail than some of these other guys, and I believe that Fogelman and Boyd and are going to go out there and be pretty good. They're racing for their season or whatever. They're not going to go out there and try to make a name for themselves. So I could see him getting to 20th, but even then at 5.4, sure, he gets 31 points and 2 other guys fail, but another guy doesn't fail, then Fogelman had a good day, he just doesn't end up in the optimal line. Kind of like Decker, who survived, made it to the end of the race, had a good day. Other people just had better days.
Yeah, my real answer to that question would probably be Jet Nolan or Austin Hill. I figure those guys are going to be not really being looked at. That's where I would go.
You really think? I feel like Nolan's going to be looked at. I could be wrong. Maybe Lawless Allen. I don't know. There's something scary about that. I feel like that's a fish play.
Yeah, that seems like a trap play.
It does, doesn't it? But then Josh Raym.
Oh man,
I'm not playing a Raym truck.
I had the car painted yesterday when I looked it up.
I think it might be Allen that's got his dad's sponsor on it, if I remember correctly. Let me see.
Let me look.
Now he's got autoparkit.com. Look at that. Pops up on the spreadsheet and everything. I don't know. I think we've covered everything. Hopefully this is helpful. Any final questions? Jet is a cash core play on 3 different. What? Who?
Wait.
Well, first of all, why are you looking at these sites normally distributed? 3 different sites. You're looking at these guys. Come on.
Am I missing the Jet ownership? Screw the Norm Benning ownership. The Norm Benning plates, now the Jet chalk.
These niche trucks were not good last year. They weren't. We played Mark Smith in this truck starting dead last at a cheaper price in a race where salaries were much tighter.
Uh-huh.
And he was wrecking all over the place.
Yeah, if that's the case, I'm gonna have way more Timmy Hill.
Maybe people know something about Jet Nolan that we don't know. Maybe. This is not a Trans Am race. And I don't believe he has raced at the Daytona Road Course, has he?
No.
I'm not diving into that right now. I'm not trying to find some Jet. I'm not going to look for a Trans Am website. Done that before, and they're garbage.
They're all right. I think Roto Grinders at 40. What? Roto Grinders has Jet for 40?
Well, okay. So when we say Roto Grinders, we know who we're talking about here. It's not like, Roto Grinders. We know what person plugged in those damn numbers.
Oh, wow, that's
sorry. This is a little ridiculous. If I'm wrong, fine. Austin Wayne Self, YOLO. You will be alone on that probably. I don't know.
Saying this guy in the back. That's crazy. What? How much do I have? Let me look at my lineups real fast. I know I have Jet and I have him in one lineup.
You're going to finish in 18th, which I think is great, but it's not completely off the board. It's not. And I would rather play Tanner Gray. I would rather play Cav Gralla. I don't know how he's 40% when both of those drivers have more experience in a stock car, have worked with them. The Grays worked with Gilliland. Gralla hasn't worked with Young, but this is not a new race for them. That's shocking to me. All right, well, if I'm wrong on Jet Nolan, so be it. Sounds like maybe I missed something.
I'll look at it. Well, thank you guys for tuning in on us. We went for an hour and 8 minutes today, and we're going to be doing it again tomorrow. If I can.
These guys in the back, did we not? These niche trucks aren't that good. I believe in the year that they did, and I can't remember who was tweeted at me, so I apologize, but they had an alliance with GMS. I don't know if they still have that alliance or not. They don't have sponsorship, haven't had sponsorship in a couple years. Look, they don't have a full-time driver, do they? Does Nice have a full-time driver this year?
Offit. The one guy
he's going to run part-time. Like, that should be a red flag. Like, hey, this team's maybe not doing that good. I guess Ryan Truex, I think, which that's another red flag. Ryan Truex is your full-time driver. Yeah. What? They're going to try to field 4 trucks? What? Nice is going to try to field a bunch of trucks? It seems like to me they're just throwing a bunch of chassis out that, oh, you want to pay for a ride? Right. Well, this is the best that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this from them before. This is not GMS. They're not. GMS has full-time rides for like 3 or 4 cars every single year now. Thor has full-time rides. Kyle Busch has full-time rides. Nice has turned into like a higher level rent-a-car, right? This is a higher level SS Greenlight.
Can't afford Kyle Busch.
They're running with Ross Chastain, and I'm telling you, look at some of those Ross Chastain races, and you'll see like things kind of went his favor in a lot of those races. Like he had track position at tracks where it was impossible to pass. And when it all came down to, all right, let's see what Ross Chastain has, he got blown out at Homestead. Was never a part of the conversation. All right, so enough of my needs right now.
Before we go, Wes is asking, are you going to do any adjustments that he needs to
I'm pretty happy. Now, again, with my projections, I'm pretty aggressive because I want to keep everybody in my pool, because I figure like if I get tighter, like Ben Rhodes finishing 4th probably won't do that. Carson Hocefer even finishing 15th, probably a little too aggressive there. Like if I start getting tighter, it's going to just say nothing but place differential. It's going to completely close the door, and it's going to, but I want to leave it a little bit open. So I'm not going to tinker. By all means, tinker away.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Let's see. So I think that's about it, guys. We'll be live again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, focusing on the Xfinity Series race, and on 10 a.m. Sunday morning for the Cup Series race. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.